Are you struggling to speak English fluently, even though you understand it perfectly? Have you ever wondered why some people speak effortlessly while others can't seem to put the words together? If this sounds like you, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to unlock the secrets to boosting your English fluency with just a few simple daily habits. Stay with me, and let's transform your English speaking skills together. In today's interconnected world, English has become more than just a language, it's a bridge. Whether you are a student aiming to excel in your studies, a professional seeking career opportunities, or someone eager to explore the world, English is the key that unlocks countless doors. From accessing global knowledge to building relationships with people from different cultures, the ability to communicate in English is undeniably powerful. But here's the catch: understanding English is one thing, speaking it fluently is quite another. For many, this is where the real struggle begins. If you're someone who can read or understand English well but feels stuck when it comes to speaking, you're certainly not alone. It's frustrating, isn't it? You know what people are saying, you understand TV shows, movies, and books without much trouble, yet when it's your turn to speak, the words don't flow as easily. You might even freeze up, unsure of what to say next, or be frustrated with how slowly the words come to you. But here's the good news: this isn't a dead end. It's actually a very common challenge, and it's something you can overcome with the right approach. The fact that you understand English already is a massive advantage. Now, it's time to focus on how you can turn that passive knowledge into active speaking ability. Many people believe that mastering English speaking requires years of intensive study or memorizing endless grammar rules. But that's not the case. What if I told you the real secret to fluency is something much simpler? It's all about consistency, daily practice, and using the right strategies to make speaking a natural part of your life. Imagine speaking English with confidence, without hesitation, without the fear, and with the ease that comes from knowing you've practiced it enough to make it second nature. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have time to dedicate hours each day to learning English. And you know what? I totally understand. In today's fast-paced world, finding extra time can feel like a luxury. But the truth is, learning English doesn't have to be time-consuming. In fact, you can make huge strides with just a few minutes of practice each day. Whether you're busy with work, school, or other commitments, you can still build your English fluency step by step without it feeling overwhelming. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can turn your English practice into a daily habit that will gradually make a significant difference. We'll discuss practical, effective strategies that you can easily incorporate into your daily routine, whether you're commuting, during lunch breaks, or even while doing household chores. I'm not talking about cramming in lessons or memorizing vocabulary lists. I'm talking about small, daily actions that, over time, will help you develop a fluent, confident speaking ability. Learning English doesn't have to be a daunting task. The truth is, you don't need to be perfect. Fluency comes with practice, patience, and a willingness to embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. The more you speak, the more your confidence will grow, and the more natural it will feel to express yourself in English. So, if you're ready to make English speaking a part of your daily life and improve your fluency in a way that fits your schedule, keep watching. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear plan for how to practice English every day in a way that's simple, effective, and most importantly, enjoyable. It's time to stop feeling stuck and start speaking with confidence. Let's get started. Now, let's dive into a question that's probably been on your mind for some time. Why is speaking English so hard, even when you understand it? You're not alone if this is a struggle for you. It's a common issue that many people face, being able to read, write, and listen in English with relative ease, but then freezing up when it's time to speak. Why does this happen? The truth is, the gap between understanding and speaking fluently is often rooted in a few key factors. First, fear plays a huge role. Many people are afraid of making mistakes, worried about being judged, or simply nervous about not sounding fluent enough. This fear can paralyze you and prevent you from even trying to speak, which only worsens the problem. Another issue is lack of practice. While you might read English texts or listen to conversations in English on a daily basis, if you're not actively speaking, your brain isn't being trained to think in English. Speaking is an active skill that needs to be practiced regularly, just like any other physical skill. You wouldn't expect to be able to play the piano by simply listening to music, you have to play it yourself. Similarly, speaking English fluently requires consistent speaking practice. Lastly, many people struggle with the lack of a clear strategy. They don't know where to start, how to practice speaking, or what specific methods will work for them. This lack of direction can make the task of learning English feel overwhelming, and often leads to giving up or putting it off until later. But here's the key: speaking fluently isn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about building muscle memory for your brain and your mouth. When you practice speaking regularly, your brain starts thinking in English, which makes speaking feel more natural. And the more you speak, the more confident you become, gradually eliminating the fear and hesitation that once held you back. So, let me ask you, what if you could practice speaking English every single day, even in small increments, without it feeling like a burden? What if, over time, you build up the confidence to speak naturally and effortlessly? That's what I'm here to show you. It's not about being perfect or memorizing rules, it's about practicing consistently and using effective techniques that will help you reach fluency, one step at a time. Let's break down the strategies that will make this a reality for you. Let me introduce you to someone whose experience will resonate with many of you. Her name is Aisha, and for a long time, she struggled with speaking English fluently, despite understanding the language well. Aisha's story is one of perseverance, daily practice, and how small changes can lead to significant improvements over time. If you've ever felt frustrated with your English, or wondered why you can understand it but struggle to speak it, her journey might be exactly what you need to hear. Aisha grew up in a small town, where opportunities to learn languages were limited. Despite that, she had always been fascinated by English. At school, she excelled in grammar, vocabulary, and reading comprehension. She could read books in English, watch movies, and follow along with ease. Her ability to understand the language was impressive, and everyone around her recognized her talent. Teachers praised her for her academic performance, and friends often turned to her for help with English assignments. But there was a catch. No matter how much Aisha understood English, no matter how many books she read or lessons she attended, when it came to speaking, she felt stuck. It was like there was a barrier in her mind that prevented her from speaking fluently. The fear of making mistakes, the pressure to sound perfect, and the anxiety of stumbling over her words paralyzed her. She knew the words she wanted to say, they were right there in her mind. But when it was time to speak, they wouldn't come out the way she imagined them. She was terrified of making errors, and this fear caused her to freeze up every time she had to speak English. It wasn't as if Aisha hadn't tried to practice speaking. She would rehearse dialogues, memorize vocabulary lists, and listen to English podcasts, hoping that eventually, it would become second nature. But no matter how much she practiced on her own, when it came time to speak with someone, the fear returned, and she often found herself tongue-tied, unable to form the sentences she so easily understood in her head. Her frustration grew, and she started to doubt herself. Why can't I speak like everyone else? She thought. Why does it feel so difficult for me? At one point, Aisha even considered giving up. She thought, maybe I just wasn't cut out to speak English fluently. But deep down, she knew that this wasn't the answer. She loved the language, and she had big dreams of traveling, studying abroad, and working in an international environment. She knew that learning English was essential to achieving these goals, and she refused to let fear stand in her way. That's when she decided to take a different approach. Rather than focusing on grammar drills or memorizing more vocabulary, Aisha reached out to me for help. She said, I've been learning English for years, but when I try to speak, I feel stuck. What am I doing wrong? Her message was one of both frustration and hope. She wasn't giving up. She wanted to overcome her fear and start speaking English with confidence. We had a long conversation about her struggles, and it became clear that Aisha had one major issue that many learners face. While she knew the language, she wasn't practicing speaking enough to make it flow naturally. At this point, I shared a simple but powerful idea with Aisha. Fluency is not about memorizing every word. It's about speaking every day. The key to overcoming her fear wasn't more memorization, it wasn't stressing over grammar rules, it was about building a habit of speaking every single day. And that's exactly what we did. Aisha didn't have to spend hours speaking every day. In fact, I told her to start small. Just 20 minutes a day of speaking English consistently. Aisha was skeptical. She asked, but how is 20 minutes going to make a difference? I explained that the goal wasn't to be perfect. It was to break the mental block she had about speaking and to build the habit of speaking English. I assured her that by practicing daily, her mind would begin to think in English. She wouldn't be translating from her native language anymore. Instead, she'd start to feel comfortable expressing herself in English, regardless of whether she made mistakes. The mistakes were part of the process. What mattered was consistency and confidence. So, Aisha made a commitment to speak for just 20 minutes every day. She didn't need to find a speaking partner immediately. Instead, she started speaking to herself. She would narrate her daily activities in English, describe what she saw around her, or reflect on her thoughts in English. At first, it felt awkward and forced, but she kept at it. Every day, she spoke aloud, whether she was in her room, walking to the store, or doing chores around the house. The goal wasn't to sound perfect, it was to build the habit of speaking and to get her brain used to expressing thoughts in English. Aisha's first few days of practice were challenging. She felt self-conscious and unsure of herself. She sometimes hesitated, trying to find the right words. But as the days went by, she started to notice a shift. The words came more easily, and she found herself thinking in English more often. She didn't need to translate every sentence in her head anymore, her thoughts were flowing in English naturally. She even began to enjoy speaking, as she realized that it was becoming easier to form sentences and express her ideas without hesitation. One of the key turning points in Aisha's journey came when she started mimicking native speakers. She would listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, and TV shows in English, not just to hear the language, but to actively imitate it. She would repeat sentences out loud, paying attention to the tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. This helped her develop a more natural speaking flow, and it also helped reduce the anxiety she felt about speaking perfectly. She realized that fluency didn't mean being perfect, it meant speaking confidently and comfortably, even if there were occasional mistakes. Aisha also started using language exchange platforms, where she could practice speaking with others who were learning English. Initially, these conversations were simple, with basic exchanges about daily life, but they gave Aisha the opportunity to practice in real time with someone else. Over time, she became more comfortable with these conversations and noticed that her ability to express herself had improved significantly. She was no longer freezing up in the middle of a sentence, instead, she was speaking more fluently and confidently. As the months went by, Aisha's transformation was remarkable. The fear that once paralyzed her had gradually faded, replaced by a newfound confidence. Speaking English no longer felt like a challenge, it felt natural. She could converse with native speakers, attend meetings in English, and even travel to English-speaking countries without hesitation. Her vocabulary grew, and she became more comfortable with complex sentence structures. Most importantly, she felt proud of her progress. One of the most powerful lessons Aisha learned was the importance of consistency. It wasn't the number of hours she spent studying that made the difference, it was the daily practice. By speaking for just 20 minutes a day, she had developed the muscle memory needed to speak fluently. And that's a lesson you can apply to your own learning journey. Aisha's story isn't unique. Countless learners have experienced similar struggles and triumphs, and the secret to success is simple: practice every day. Speaking English is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with consistent effort. Whether it's 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes, or even an hour, the key is to make speaking a habit, to push through the fear of making mistakes, and to keep practicing every single day. So, if you're struggling with speaking English, remember Aisha's journey. She didn't start speaking fluently overnight, but with patience and persistence, she turned her weakness into a strength. You can do the same. Start speaking every day, embrace the mistakes, and watch as your fluency improves over time. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep practicing. And before you know it, speaking English will become second nature. Now that we've explored Aisha's story and the challenges that many learners face, let's talk about the solution. How can you improve your English every day? How can you take simple steps to make steady progress without feeling overwhelmed? The answer lies in consistency and the right techniques. Practicing every day, even in small doses, is key to becoming fluent. But it's not just about practicing, it's about practicing effectively. So, how can you start practicing English daily in a way that actually works? Let's break it down into a manageable routine. The first step is to get used to how English sounds. This might seem like an obvious one, but many learners overlook the importance of listening practice. Listening is essential because it helps you internalize the natural flow of the language. It trains your brain to understand different accents, vocabulary, and sentence structures, and it builds a mental bank of language that will help you speak more fluently. Spend at least 10 to 15 minutes a day listening to English. This can be done in a variety of ways, depending on what you enjoy. Here are some ideas. Choose a show or movie that interests you. Start with subtitles in your native language or in English, then gradually challenge yourself by turning off the subtitles. This helps you focus on understanding spoken English naturally. There are thousands of podcasts and audiobooks available in English on almost every topic imaginable. Find ones that match your interests, whether it's technology, culture, or storytelling. Listening to real-world content will give you exposure to how native speakers use the language. There are plenty of resources that are specifically geared towards learners, like Learn English 24/7 or learning channels on YouTube. These can be great for helping you understand everyday English. The key here is to immerse yourself in the language. Make it a habit to listen every day, even if it's just during your daily commute or while you're doing housework. Consistent exposure will improve your listening skills and help your brain recognize the language's rhythm and structure. Speaking is often the hardest part of learning a language. We often feel self-conscious, or we might be afraid of making mistakes. But here's the truth, the more you speak, the easier it gets. Start with speaking out loud, even if you're by yourself. This is where many learners struggle, but it's one of the most effective ways to improve your fluency. Even though it might feel awkward at first, speaking is what will push you towards fluency. Narrate your day or describe things around you. For example, I'm making coffee right now. I'll add some milk, and then I'll sit down to work. This might seem strange, but it's a great way to practice forming sentences without pressure. By speaking out loud, you'll get used to creating sentences in real time. Recording yourself speaking can be very helpful. It allows you to listen to your own pronunciation and see what areas you need to improve. You might be surprised at how much progress you can make by simply listening to your recordings and comparing them over time. One excellent technique is to repeat after native speakers. Watch a short clip from a TV show or movie, pause after each sentence, and try to repeat what was said as closely as possible. This technique helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. If you're worried about speaking incorrectly, remember, fluency doesn't mean perfection. It's about communicating and getting your message across. The more you practice speaking, the less anxious you'll feel about making mistakes, and the more confident you'll become. While listening and speaking are critical for fluency, reading is another key aspect of language learning. It improves your vocabulary, helps you understand sentence structure, and gives you exposure to how the language is used in different contexts. But if you've ever picked up a book in English and found it too difficult to follow, you're not alone. That's where graded readers come in. Graded readers are books specifically designed for language learners. They are written with simplified vocabulary and grammar, so you can read at your own pace without getting overwhelmed. Here's how to use graded readers to improve your English. Don't feel the need to dive into difficult novels right away. Start with beginner-level books that use simple words and grammar. As you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the difficulty level. Reading aloud is a fantastic way to practice pronunciation and speaking in context. As you read, say the words out loud and focus on how they sound. This combines the benefits of reading and speaking practice in one step. As you read, pay attention to sentence structure and common phrases. Try to recognize how sentences are formed and how words are used in context. This will help you improve your overall comprehension and ability to speak naturally. Reading is also a great way to expand your vocabulary. With each new book, you'll encounter words you've never seen before. Take the time to look up their meanings, and try to use them in your daily conversations. This will help solidify them in your memory and give you a broader range of vocabulary to draw upon when speaking. The most important part of learning any language is practicing it in real conversations. It's not enough to just study grammar rules or read books, To become fluent, you need to engage with others in real-time conversations. One of the best ways to practice speaking is through language exchange. There are several platforms available where you can connect with native English speakers or other learners who want to practice speaking English. These conversations don't have to be long or complicated. Start with simple exchanges, like talking about your day, hobbies, or interests. If you don't have anyone around you who speaks English, look for a language exchange partner. Many apps and websites can connect you with someone willing to practice speaking with you. The more you speak, the faster your confidence and fluency will grow. Many cities offer language exchange meetups, or you can join online forums and video calls. These are great opportunities to speak with other learners and native speakers in a relaxed, social environment. Don't worry if you make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process. When speaking with others, try to focus on communication rather than perfection. Your goal is to practice forming sentences and conveying your thoughts in English. Over time, you'll get more comfortable speaking, and your fluency will improve naturally. One of the best ways to make learning English a daily habit is to make it fun. When learning feels like a chore, it's easy to give up. But when you enjoy the process, you're much more likely to stick with it. Whether it's a favorite TV show, YouTube videos, or music, make sure you're exposing yourself to English in ways that excite you. If you're passionate about something, whether it's cooking, gaming, or fashion, find content in English related to those topics. This will make learning feel less like a task and more like an enjoyable hobby. Language learning apps often have games and challenges that can make the process more engaging. Apps like Duolingo or Babbel offer gamified lessons that make practicing feel like fun instead of work. Try to set a daily streak goal to keep yourself motivated. Stories are a fantastic way to learn language naturally. They offer context, vocabulary, and real-life conversations. Whether you're reading short stories, listening to podcasts, or audiobooks, the narrative flow helps you understand how the language fits together. By following these simple steps and incorporating English into your daily routine, you'll start to see progress. The key is consistency. Don't try to do everything at once. Start small, set manageable goals, and practice every day. Over time, you'll notice that your speaking becomes smoother, your vocabulary will expand, and your confidence will soar. Whether you're listening to English content, speaking out loud, reading graded books, or engaging in real conversations, the most important thing is to keep practicing and never give up. By making English a part of your daily life, you'll begin to think in English, not just understand it. Fluency will come gradually, and with time, you'll be able to speak with confidence and ease. Start today, and watch as your skills improve with every conversation. Now it's your turn. The key to becoming fluent in English is starting today. Don't wait for the perfect moment is now. Take the first step by committing to just 20 minutes of practice every day. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you've been learning for a while, small, consistent efforts will lead to big improvements. Remember, the more you practice, the more confident and fluent you will become. Whether you start by listening to English content, speaking out loud, or reading, the important thing is that you start today. Make English a part of your routine. 20 minutes a day can lead to incredible progress over time. I believe in you. You've got everything it takes to improve your English. Now it's time to take action. Here's your challenge. Dedicate 20 minutes to learning English right after you finish watching this video. It could be listening to a podcast, speaking out loud, or reading a graded reader, whatever feels right for you. Just make sure you start. Then, share your progress with us in the comments below. What are you going to practice today? If you're committed to making this part of your daily life, subscribe to our channel for more tips and motivation. And remember, the journey doesn't stop here. Share your experiences, ask questions, and keep pushing forward. To wrap things up, fluency in English isn't something that happens overnight, it's a continuous journey. The good news is, by practicing daily, even for just 20 minutes, you're already moving in the right direction. Every small step, whether it's listening to a podcast, speaking out loud, or reading a little each day, adds up and helps you improve. Remember, it's about consistency, not perfection. Don't worry if you make mistakes along the way. Mistakes are just part of the learning process. Every mistake you make is a lesson that brings you closer to fluency. So, Keep practicing, and don't let setbacks discourage you. You are capable of mastering English. Trust the process, stay consistent, and the progress will follow. Keep challenging yourself, and you'll soon find yourself speaking with more confidence and ease than ever before. Good luck on your journey, and remember, the key to success is to never stop learning. Thanks for watching and subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue exploring ways to help you reach your English fluency goals. Keep practicing and stay motivated.